After part 1, I was incredibly optimistic for what was to come in part 2. What's up, guys? Joe here, and today we're continuing the comparison between the Long Halloween comic and the animated adaptation. We made a video about the first one, so if you missed that, go check that out and then come right back here. This one is even more loosely adapted than the first one, but you know what? Let's jump right into this, spoilers and all. The story continues for the hunt for Holiday. This part is way more loosely adapted. Once again, most of the big plot points are hit, but how they get there is changed a good amount. A lot was added, and some of it for good, and some of it just didn't feel right. It picks up with Ivy having control over Bruce. One change I liked here was actually Ivy having control over Alfred as well. I felt like it made more sense for the story overall. I thought it was interesting that they skimmed past Valentine's and St. Patrick's Day and completely skipped April Fool's Day. I was actually disappointed that they skipped that. I felt like in the comics it added more to the mystery of Holiday. Some of the kills were changed. For example, Carla didn't die, and an assassin on Dent died on the 4th of July. One change I felt was significantly better for the story was when Batman got drugged by Scarecrow. In the comic, during that holiday, he goes to his family's grave, and for me, I felt like that was sketchy at best. But in the movie, he goes to the alleyway where his parents were killed, and Catwoman helps him home. I feel like this works way better, especially because in the comic, he's also being chased by the cops, and he just stops at the graveyard. I feel like from an outside perspective, if someone sees Batman, it makes more sense for him to be in an alleyway than over a tombstone. Also, good job Catwoman, since she messed up his identity last movie. She should make up for it, and this is a good start. The Mafia side I felt was okay, but not as good as the comic. I personally feel like Sophia wasn't used as well as she could have been. There were quite a few things that were completely cut, like her conversation with her aunt, her scene with the Riddler, since he was also completely cut as well. The Maroni side was done pretty well and reasonably accurate for the most part. Best example is when Papa Maroni gets the Don's regards in front of regular Maroni.
Oh! Oh! Papa! Papa!
There are also a bunch of smaller things that were mentioned in the first part that ties into this one way more than I thought. Main examples being Dent's wife and Selena. I don't remember where Gilda went to college being that important at all. One story change I'm conflicted about is the ending. In the comic, I felt like the end of the story was pretty ambiguous who Holiday was. I felt like actually it was all three. But in the film, it feels more like it was Gilda and a few were Dent. I liked how near the end Dent befriended Grundy and got him to help Maroni, even though in the comics Alberto takes out Maroni. I thought it was an odd choice to not have Alberto back at all, and I feel like it hurts the ending a bit, but adds more to Gilda's motivation, even though I wasn't a huge fan of that change. It was cool, however, to see at the end of the film, Batman and Catwoman take on most of Batman's villains. It was similar to the comic, and the fight overall was very enjoyable. The characters are mostly the same as the first, and the only new introduction is Sophia, and she wasn't used much. She's there for her father and clearly more liked by him than Alberto was. She looks very similar to her comic counterpart. She actually felt almost useless in the movie, while in the comic she actually seemed intimidating and was a cool character. Maroni was pretty accurate as well, except for a few small things, like Sophia seeing him in prison in the comic, but in the film she went with him before Papa Maroni got shot. It was cool to see the scene where he made it rain on Dent.
Luigi Maroni sends his regards.
That was cool, and this scene made me realize that I may be a bit sadistic, because I was disappointed we didn't actually see the acid burn through his skin. They gave it an R rating. I want to see that burn his face. Dent was pretty cool, and the voice acting was fantastic. The relationship between him and Gilda is even more strained here. They mention getting therapy or even divorce. It was also enjoyable to see him snap and become Two-Face. I liked that the movie showed him breaking all the villains out of Arkham. I liked at the end was very accurate where he turned himself into Gordon and Bats in hope that the system was going to do the right thing.
You betrayed everything you believe in. Not everything. Arrest me, Jimbo. I'm responsible.
We do see Bat a bit more skilled here and fighting better, and I love his determination of not giving Dent any credit for killing Falcone. He also basically just lets Gilda get away with all the murders, since here it is more clear that she definitely killed numerous people in the film. That part felt odd, but I'm assuming he let her go because of Selena. I have mixed feelings about Catwoman here again. Yes, I'm still upset about her not having her comic costume, of course, but in the comic, she's constantly following around Falcone and Squad. And I personally like the mystery, but in the movie, they give her a reason. She's an orphan, and Falcone knows why. Later, it's shown that her dad is Alberto and mom is Gilda. That knowledge made this scene even more awkward.
Oh, no, no.
This story was always considered a classic, and while the first part of the adaptation does reasonably well, I feel like this one fails to hold up as well, especially towards the end. This series left me extremely conflicted. This one made me think of Hush and A Killing Joke, while the first part was more enjoyable and closer to the source material. I think this part might be more enjoyable if you haven't read the book. After this movie, if I wanted to see the story again, I would go to the comic, but that's my opinion. Do you agree? What's your favorite or least favorite DC animated movie? Let's talk about everything DC down below. If you liked the video, why not give it a thumbs up or share it with a friend while you subscribe? All of that helps our channel grow, and we really appreciate all of our fans. Now remember, stay nerdy and keep binging.
On guard, you sanctimonious shit!